Stick around and I'll show you step by step how I created this healthy root ball and a brand new fig tree from one branch of an existing fig tree. The first step is to make a cut all the way around a fig branch in 2 places. Try to make the cut just a little bit deeper than the thickness of the bark. Once that's complete, just make another cut between those 2 cuts, like so. Then I take the tip of the knife blade and try to pry up on the edge of the cut that I just made until it comes loose. Once you get the edge of the bark loose, it will usually peel off in one piece, just like this. As you can see, it comes off very easily. Once I had the bark off, then I applied some rooting hormone. And it comes in a powdered form, so all I do is hold the container up and then dab it on with an artist brush. Next, I use a rooting box. This is something that I bought, but you can use something as simple as a plastic bottle. I filled both sides with some damp potting soil. Here's a look at the rooting boxes before they have soil in them. I'm using the medium-sized one. The set I bought came in 3 different sizes. I'm pruning off a couple of nearby branches so the rooting box will fit in better. This particular fig is in bad need of pruning, but I'm going to do that when the fig is dormant. Now it's time to put on the rooting box with the soil. I'm trying to locate that section where we removed the bark in the middle of the rooting box. And I'm closing it very slowly so I won't accidentally spill some of that soil. Once I have it on, then I secure it at the top with a little tab that fits into a notch on the other side. Then I'll add some zip ties for added strength. Once I had the zip ties in place, I turned the rooting box so the moisture wouldn't leak out through the seams. Then using a 12-inch landscape staple, I tried to position the branch that the rooting box is on parallel with the ground. This step might have been unnecessary, but once again I was trying to preserve the moisture in the rooting box. A little less than a month later, I cut one of the zip ties so I could take a peek, and it was obvious we had some roots, so I went ahead and cut off another zip tie so we could take a better look. I expected to see some roots, but I was actually a little surprised by how many roots we had in less than a month. Even though temperatures were in the high 90s, I thought it would be safe to go ahead and separate this one and put it in a pot. Before we do that though, let's take a closer look at these roots. As you can see, there's lots of roots and they're pretty healthy too. Because of the high temperatures, I decided to put this one in a pot rather than put it directly in the ground, so I could occasionally move it to the shade if I thought it was necessary. Using my bypass pruners, I made a cut right below the ball of roots. Before we put this in a pot, here's another look at those nice roots we have. To plant it, I simply moved back some of the potting soil, put the rooting ball down in the pot. Then I covered up the rooting ball with some of the soil and then added more soil on top of that. This particular potting soil has cocoa coir in it. When you first separate an air layered cutting, sometimes the plant has a little trouble keeping up with the foliage that it has, so I'm removing some excess foliage so it won't be as stressed. Here's a look at our air layered cutting after I pruned it. I also did some cuttings using simple layering, and they didn't make the adjustment to being their own plant nearly as well as the air layered cutting did. Some of them dropped almost all of their foliage on their own, but they're all showing new growth at the top, and I think they're all going to be fine. I cut the top of this one off and it dropped all of its leaves and was just a stick in the ground. But as you can see, it has new growth coming out. Here's our air layered cutting after almost a month of being in the pot, and it's doing very well. It never showed any signs of stress at all. It has some nice new growth at the tips, and even has some little buds that are trying to pop out from the stems. Let me know if you've ever tried any air layering, and don't forget to like and share this video. We'll see you next time.